about that egg. And by the way, that was not his footage. Another person at a similar operation, which is corroborative, who hasn't come forward, sent that in. This is important. Some people would say this great. I said no, because you have multiple operators who've been in projects where they have retrieved virtually the identical type NHI craft at separate locations and times. Now that person has not unmasked themselves. So I'm just saying, I know a great deal more that I can talk about on this podcast because of confidences I keep, which I'm not thrilled about, honestly, but this is the world I reside in. Just like I'm not going to talk about who I'm going to meet with here in Washington until those people are out of office.
So welcome to the bigger picture with me, Nick, and my co-host, Sid. Welcome, Sid.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good. Actually, I'm really good. And I really enjoyed watching the extended version of the Whistleblower. And I know you have seen it too.
Yeah.
The whistleblower's name is, of course, Barber, Jake Barber.
So the original one, which was like 45 minutes, that was very disappointing. But
Yeah.
the extended version is amazing. There are so much details in there. I don't know why they did that anyway. They should have released the extended version.
Yeah, well, I do have I do think I know why they did it. I think they did it because that's one that you can show to your friends and family, and then they will watch it, and then they think like, okay, interesting, but it's not sort of like, it doesn't go into like the really crazy stuff, so it doesn't upset them. And then that sort of allows them to sort of digest the fact that this guy is for real. He is who he says he is, so that they can sort of focus on his background and, sort of to verify that the man is actually who he says he is. And otherwise, I think if they started with the extended version, and probably they also had to cut, right? Because usually you have to cut it down to an hour anyway. If they had, inserted all the crazy stuff that he says in the extended version, then people wouldn't have believed, then they would have been put off no matter who he was.
Yeah. But again, I will say that even initially everyone like it was proven that Jake Barber was what he was saying, so there was no proof on that. But then the first interview, what he said was not very attractive. So I think the people were turned off, like, okay, this man worked in that, but there is nothing new
Yeah.
other than the egg shaped thing. But people knew about egg shaped one. I think egg shaped one and TikTok is the same thing.
Yeah.
TikTok, sorry, not TikTok. TikTok. So the TikTok video, already we know there is a craft like that. So there was no information. I was kind of disappointing. Like, okay, they were talking about big, big disclosure and everything, but that was not very big. And then they released the extended version. Okay, now I understand. I'm
Yeah.
not concerned about the video because video is not that important anyway, and it wasn't
True.
related to the main guy. But the things he told, and I believe Jake Barber for whatever he's saying. So the information he gave, that was amazing.
Yeah, and we both recommend people to sit down and watch the complete extended edition from beginning to end, because it's stuffed with interesting information. We're gonna probably do a couple of these shows because about disclosure, because there's a lot to say about disclosure. And this, I think this interview with him is a major milestone in the disclosure movement. And I think Ross Coulthard has done tremendous work of, getting all these people together.
Yeah, but I think it's Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
He actually gathered everyone. Ross Coulthard actually just did the interview. Yeah, I'm not like taking anything away from him. He did a lot of things, but actually the man behind all this disclosure is a Stephen Greer, and he deserves all the praises.
Yeah, and then we mentioned Stephen Greer many times, and also reference his serious disclosure, which he did like years ago, which was also very interesting and breaking. But sort of many people sort of dismissed those testimonies because they felt that they couldn't trust the people speaking, and also they were
Yeah.
just talking heads making wild
It was,
claims,
I think, in 1998 or something. The
something like that.
first one, yeah, very long time ago, and nobody believed on that. At that time, there was no social media, so nobody could do anything about it. They just heard it, but there was no reaction to this. But what is happening right now? Everybody has social media, and everybody, or podcast, because social media is one thing, but a lot of podcasters are out there, or live shows like ours. So a lot of people are commenting on that. A lot of people are verifying the information with whatever they can.
Yeah.
So the world has changed, and it's much easier these days compared to 1998.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, so there's a lot of stuff in this. I do want to say one thing about Ross Coulthard before we move on, and about Stephen Greer. First of all, it's very interesting that Stephen Greer and Ross Coulthard have this connection with each other, because basically Greer announced that he was going to sort of provide bombshell information to the public. Well, that's this interview, I imagine, and maybe he has other stuff up his sleeve. But this is major. And then he apparently contacted Ross Coulthard to do the interview with this whistleblower, probably to put him out to the public. But what I wanted to say is, the way sort of Ross Coulthard, when you follow Reality Check has, it's almost like people often speak about, uh, catastrophic disclosure versus drip feeding or controlled disclosure, like intelligent disclosure. And I think, when you sort of watch Ross Coulthard from beginning to end, when he first started, when he did his interviews with Kurt Jaimungal, and when people didn't know about him, and when he wrote his book, and then he sort of, with News Nation, he broke to the public, and then, with Reality Check, it's almost, when you sort of see Reality Check, it's sort of drip feeding information to us,
Mhm.
because we already sort of knew, and Jesse Mitchell's, of course, too, about sort of, they were sort of suggesting about telekinesis and that kind of stuff a few episodes ago. And now sort of, we're now at this point where, telekinesis is blowing up all over the place.
Exactly.
It's sort of like a concerted action. It's not like random. This stuff is not randomly released to the public. It's sort of inserted.
You know what is happening? I think there are two factions. One is the faction of Jeremy Corbell, and one is the faction of Stephen Greer. Jeremy Corbell and his people around him are doing the drip disclosure. They are going through intelligence. They are doing all those things, but they are not achieving anything technically, because even though they are having all these hearings with Congress and stuff, nothing coming out of that. So I think Stephen Greer decided to do public disclosure. So he is
Mhm.
not involved with the in agencies or the politicians. He is just going directly on the news and bringing out all his whistleblowers.
Well,
So I
it does.
think two things are happening at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree, and you got different factions, absolutely, and different, objectives. And but actually, Stephen Gray does sort of contact Washington quite a lot, and does those debriefings with, I think, even the presidents, he mentioned.
Yeah,
So
but nobody listened to him,
yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe they are. Well, at least they're
Yeah,
starting to
at
wake
least
up.
they're not giving us a signal that they're listening to him. He is in contact, because again, even in the deep state or the disclosure team of the government, there are two factions. One is resisting it, one is like wanted to get things out. So some people in the government are in touch with Stephen Greer, and they are sending their this is my assumption, that they are sending their whistleblowers to Stephen Greer, and then Stephen Greer has his own network where he is releasing it. And then I think he have like security
Yeah,
checks in places, so their lives are not threatened.
yeah,
So Steven Greer is doing that kind of thing. And then the other group is, again, the Michael Schallenberger and all those guys like Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp. They are trying to go through the official channel, but I don't think anything is coming out of it. To be honest, at this point, I'm not even convinced they are doing the right thing.
yeah.
Or maybe they are the government plant at that point, because
But
I'm getting a weird feeling from them. I'm
Yeah,
not
that
gonna say anything, but that's what it is.
I know. But for example, Barber also mentions in the interview that he does have an DOPSA, right? So he went through the DOPSA to release this to the public. So even this whistleblower with all the
They
statements.
have to go.
Yeah,
That's like
I
a part
know.
of their, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes critics say like, "Oh, everybody who goes through a DOPSA is, you can't trust them because basically they're just saying what they're allowed to say, and so basically their information is sort of, tainted or
Well,
untrustworthy."
those people who are saying that they don't understand how government work, because even as a whistleblower, they have to follow proper channels.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they could be like Edward Snowden,
yeah,
and government can,
yeah.
because they, when they join army or these kind of programs, they have to sign a lot of NDAs. So in order to come out as a whistleblower, they have to follow the process. Otherwise, they are committing a crime, and they don't want to commit a crime. So that's why they have to go through that.
Yeah, and he addresses all of this stuff that we're talking about. He actually addresses that in the interview. Also, the DOPSA process, he goes into much detail what that actually is and how it works, and that sort of takes away the criticism of at least most of the criticism that people can put against it. Well, anyway, this we're now gonna sort of hear a little bit. Sort of this is like the highlight of the show, which was also partly, not entirely, in the original version. And I want to sort of, I think we're going to take it from there because I got a lot of links again, way too many. So this will be probably 2 shows or 3 shows. So anyway, here we go.
Let's go.
To this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. And
What do you feel? What's the emotion?
I feel a sense of my mother. I don't know how else to explain it. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty, and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. And I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. I'm like, am I just stressed? Am I tired? Am I marinating in cortisol and estrogen? I don't know. But as I came over this object for the pick, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
What's it saying?
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, I'm on my way to the studio and
Commercials.
Fuck Tony Robbins.
Yeah. I'm going to skip it. Okay, here we go. Continue.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Like I said, it was an overwhelming sense of sadness, happiness.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And
I can't imagine crying at night time with night vision goggles is the healthiest way to fly a chopper.
no, it is not. And then I'm confused as to why I'm crying at the same time. And then do I abort the mission? So I just did my best to focus on my particular cues when doing this type of work. And I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
Was it loving?
it was loving. But there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And
Had you ever had an experience like this before?
no, it was a very feminine energy. I'll tell you that. It felt like the spirit of God, but not in any masculine sense that I had ever felt. It was like, again, the feeling of my mother, and my daughter, and beauty. And it wasn't like a soul, it was like a frequency that I was connected with.
Was it scared?
I don't know if it is a thing. I'm still trying to figure out why that happened. I don't want to say that because I have a pretty good idea of what's going on now. And whatever that force was since that night, it has stayed with me. And as crazy as this sounds, it's what's guiding me now.
Yeah, I found that that's the most powerful piece in the interview, and I think that's the heart of the matter, and that also ties into the telekinesis part. And I think your mic is off, or
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you make of that segment?
This is, I actually believe every word of what he's saying. Why? Because recently, back few weeks ago, I've seen something. Remember, I sent you the
Yeah.
videos like the green light in the sky. So how it happened? I was walking on the street every night after I eat dinner. I go on the hill because I live on the hill, so I
Mhm.
go all the way down and go back up. So I did 2 rounds of it. It was an hour, so I didn't see anything. And when I come close to my home, I had a feeling that turned around.
Mhm.
It wasn't like a voice, but it was like a feeling that hit me. And I was walking and I didn't even stop. And I just, while I was walking, I turned around and started walking towards that street where I saw that green line coming in, light coming in. It felt like that light gave me kind of a messaging. It wasn't a possession or anything. It was just saying that turn around and come back. And I felt that. It wasn't a voice or anything. It was just a feeling, deep feeling that just called me back. And I went there, and as soon as I reached to the street, that green light appeared and stayed there for like 20 minutes. So it was 20 minutes, and it was coming in and disappearing. Drones were trying to catch it, and whenever the drone come near it, it disappears.
Wow.
Literally disappear in the sky. So I had like to good 10 minutes of recording of that. I have posted it in different videos anyway. So if anybody want to go to my
Was that
profile,
the
you will
one that we shared last time?
so there were I had that 2 times. So one time I shared with everyone, but the next time I didn't even I posted it, but I didn't send you the link, or I did send you the link. I don't remember. It's been a while.
But
That
yeah, I'm gonna go on.
Yeah, so that light actually give a good show, and then even in the video, it just disappeared in the sky. So drones cannot do that, and I see
Yeah.
drones every night. By the way, since that night, that they are coming in the same area and just circling around like they are scanning for for something, and I can easily spot a drone because drones are very easy to spot. That green thing was not a drone; that was something else because it disappeared and come back and then return. And since then I go out every night, I don't see it, and I'm not
Mhm.
getting a feeling because both of those nights I got a feeling that there is something up, and I'm not getting that feeling.
Yeah.
And but I see drones every day. Maybe if I see that video,
And
I'll
that might also explain why they why some people report that when you see them they disappear, right? If there's
yeah,
actually a psychical connection to the person watching it,
yeah.
or vice versa, then of course it could shift in and out of existence, or
Yeah,
waking
I
or
sent you the link of the video if you wanna. It's a long video, but I'll just show you how it happens. We
yeah.
can forward it, and I'll show you how it was doing,
I'm
what it
gonna
was.
open it now.
Yeah.
So this is like a genuine UAP. Cool. Probably.
Prop.
Oh, your sound
Yeah.
is up.
Holy shit. This is the same green thing. And it stopped here. It's moving really fast because I was running while it was doing this.
Wow.
Try to catch it. So it's not like a normal speed, and then I zoomed out. And then it is stopped here. Okay, if you go at the end now, because the 6-minute videos keep
Oh,
doing that.
Okay.
And then you will just see now it will disappear.
But it kind of looks like a blinking light, right? I mean, somebody could just say like, "Oh, it's a light blinking," so they turned off the light.
No, but there is no object behind it, because when it disappeared, look, it disappeared. Nothing on the sky.
Yeah.
Oh, where did it go?
Yeah, we'll link the video down below in the.
Yeah. And then right after it disappeared, a drone came into that area. It's also in the it's the whole thread of the video. So drone came into in the same location, and then looked around, and it went away, the drone. And the moment drone went far away, the light reappears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
it sounds.
and then drone returned and start following it, and then it moved. And this pause, like, it disappeared for a very long time. Disappeared for like at least 5 to 10 minutes, because when it disappeared, I was still standing and looking at the drone, and I actually recorded the drones as well. And then it reappeared. I'd never expected it to reappear. And the camera, one thing people need to understand, like, camera quality is bad, but our eyes are not. We can see things still in the sky. So there was literally nothing in the sky,
Yeah.
because my eye vision was very clear.
Yeah.
And then,
but
and
then,
then-
of course, then they do have to trust your testimony.
well, yeah, I'm not even trying to sell anything. I'm just telling you what I experienced. And while it was there, I had a connection with this light, which I cannot explain, but I had a connection. And then if you just go in the thread, the last video.
Wait. Let's see. The last one? Okay.
In the thread, there is like a last video in the thread.
Yeah. I'm gonna pop it up. Here we go.
It's actually
this one?
No. Yeah, this one, the code tweet one.
This one?
Underneath video. It just come on the same area where there was that flashing green
just
light.
close it because it's going to do the same thing. The video underneath this.
So that's
This one. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Is gone, and this green light is back.
Okay, drone is there, but I didn't even notice that. But in the end, there is a drone moving. Move it in the end. Go back a bit. Oh, yeah, more. Little bit more. Yeah, so now it is moving.
I'll keep focusing on the drone. Let's see how, if I see that.
Oh,
green
actually,
light
go a
again.
little bit more. Little bit more.
Please follow it.
Okay, now I'm following the light.
Yeah.
It was clearly disappearing.
So now I know what you do in your free time.
Yeah.
You
Now
phone
here's
game.
something.
And
Here,
I was
here's something.
looking at the drone. Now I hear drone. Here's the drone. Now the drone is coming, and that light is gone.
So this
Here's the
drone
drone.
came in. This is a drone because I could see it easily from my eye.
And you're in Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
I'll keep focusing
But I live
on the
on the
drone. Let's see
mountain.
how, if I see that green light again.
And then
These-
that drone went in the same direction
Yeah.
where the. But that UFO or green object disappeared. You can't see it now.
No, I just see the drone.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, this is highly unusual. So this is probably also what people are experiencing in New Jersey and other places.
Yeah. And by the way, now after this event, every day there are 8 to 10 drones in the same area fly.
Wow.
I record them. I don't even post them because what's the point of posting a drone? Because I've seen the actual thing, and there are drones. Maybe I'll post something. Yesterday I captured a drone very flying very low
Yeah.
and just circling around
And
in the same area.
so to circle back to Baker, is it right? Barber, or Barber.
Barber, Jake Barber.
So he also sort of talks that he works on the range, and they have highly classified, sensitive operations there and technology that they test.
Yeah.
And then they at some point they talk about the 5 observables of UAPs, high speeds and transmedium, especially that's what I want to say, the transmedium part. So he mentions that at the ranch he also saw UAPs sort of come from the ground or come from mountains, like as if they just fly through the ground or through a mountain without any loss of speed or whatever. It just comes out of the ground like that.
Yeah.
And so these UAPs, but he doesn't say that those are theirs, or at least he doesn't know. He with the egg, when he's sort of picking up the egg and flying it around, he said it was clearly not theirs because that was his own experience, that we just saw his emotional reaction to it, and he was the only one who had that reaction. But also his superiors were surprised by the object, and it was seamless, and it was flawless and metallic, pearly white, and out of this world sort of look that it had. But also because of the briefing that they had was like unusual in the way that sort of the communication was done and how the mission was set up. So and I think also later on he also gets sort of an affirmation from higher up that it was non-human.
Yeah.
So there are UAPs, like true UAPs, that are defying logic and defying our.
But Stephen Greer said that this is our technology. This is like
Yeah.
what we re-engineered it. So there's like a conflict in the
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah,
Because
but
Stephen Greer is saying one thing and Jake Barber is saying another thing.
yeah, well, there's an interesting connection between Jake Barber and Greer, right? Because they sort of contacted Greer in order to intercept those missing logs that they were hunting for. And then, and in order to do that, they contacted him because they thought they might end up in Greer's hands, and then they could sort of intercept them. And then, sort of, this relationship evolved between them and Greer, and vetting the people that came to Greer. And it seems that they had like a good relationship because Greer, without sort of saying who it was, it turned out to be Jake Barber.
Mhm.
That he spoke very highly of him as a source, and and of course this is the bombshell interview that Greer managed to put together and put out to the public. So there's like an interesting dynamic there between Barber and Greer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Also, I think Ross Coulthard
sorry,
did.
but I just want to say, like even Stephen Greer says they re-engineer it, right? So they re-engineer it from real UAPs, and Greer also mentions that there are actually real UAPs flying around, but the majority is reverse engineered human tech.
Yeah. Also, Ross Coulthard did interviewed yesterday with Lieutenant Colonel John Blitch, and he certified that what Jake Barber is saying is true.
Yeah.
Like, this is a summary. There's more to it, but go and listen to that if anybody want to listen. But he said what he is saying about his post and everything is true, and he also said that he believed Jake Barber for
Yeah,
everything.
well, and if you watch the interview, like the extended interview, like there's no absolute zero doubt that this guy is not who he claims to be. I mean, there's
Yeah.
documents that prove it. The way he talks, the way that he behaves, all the information that he gives, his background. Clearly, the guy is who he says he is, and he also has backing from other people from the team who have also come forward. And some really high, I think somebody from Delta Force, some kind of officer from Delta Force, if I'm not mistaken, also sort of verified that he is who he says he is.
Yeah, I really want interview of Jake Barber with Sean Ryan, because Sean
Yeah.
Ryan interview, like, he's the best interviewer in the world, and his format is so long, like they go 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I wanna see, and then he himself is a military person, like
Yeah.
he was Navy SEALs, so he can easily verify everything what he's saying. So first of all, it's not even about verification, but his interview style is the best. So I would love if Sean Ryan can do interview with Jake Barber.
And he also got this NATO top clearance, which he made. And he also goes into, that's also interesting, in the interview he also goes into how cover-ups work and how sort of working undercover works. And for example, he had to pretend not to know how to fly an helicopter in order to officially get his helicopter license, even though he already had it, because to do the cover missions, he was basically security and transport, so you had to fly a helicopter.
Yeah.
So he goes into that story, which was kind of hilarious. But he sort of tells basically how the government works, also with plausible deniability and how to bend the rules. And but he actually also speaks very highly about the government and the Department of Defense. And then there's also the issue that I think you sent it also to me, of the other person who went to Greer and mentioned that there was human trafficking going on, and he sort of and then he has his own take on that story.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that it might have been something else that the guy saw, even though Greer apparently doesn't think that, because Greer is okay. Well, let's just watch it, because
let's just watch it.
Saves a lot of time. So here we go. This is Greer with that story.
I've received information, and I've heard of this before, that they use these objects not only for gun running, and I know they've run chemical weapons on those ARV platforms, and drugs, as this SAIC executive and former Alaska congressman shared. But these crates, he said, because he was read into these projects, said those were for human transfer. And usually, so there's a underground slavery involving children and women and other people. Those assets are actually used in some of the operations that are, I'm not going to go into it or use the term that's used in the intelligence community, but it's monstrous. It would make Mingala blush. So now we're adding an account to the RICO of slavery, human trafficking, and crimes against humanity to be referred to the International Criminal Court in The Hague.
So this is very interesting, and Greer, he likes, he likes to think, he likes to say things as he sees them, and he doesn't mince words. He's right in your face, and he has been hounded and ridiculed all his life. So who cares what other people think, right? He's way past that.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was that he was talking about children and women, because I want to play this one right afterwards.
Let's play it.
Which is what?
P3 program.
Why the P3?
There's 3 Ps. It's the psionic predisposition potential.
P3.
Yeah. Now, that's not an official program name that you'll find anywhere. That's why I'm able to say that.
From your understanding of the kind of people, obviously, who were capable of psionic ability, Obviously, there's people of Native American background, people from third world countries that are deeply spiritual, that appear to have this capacity to engage with the phenomenon. Was there any other group that was especially susceptible to being able to engage with this technology?
Yeah, kids,
Children.
children.
It's been suggested to me that left-handed gay men are particularly good at it.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the case, that there's a larger distribution of the predisposition amongst children and gay men. For whatever reason, the demographic, when compared to normal society within the program, that gay men and kids and females are more often seen as having the predisposition for the psionic ability.
I'm again exploring the boundaries of where I can go, and you might want to say no.
So this, I found this very interesting in connection with what we just saw with Greer, because Greer also mentions, children, women. He didn't mention left-handed gay men, but but it's interesting, and he and this guy Jake Barber, when he sort of goes into his own background, because he had a very difficult childhood, or at least he didn't really have a difficult childhood, but he came from a broken family, but he had two grandpas.
Yeah.
And one grandpa was like some kind of super high level army guy, and the other grandpa was a super high level Navy guy. And I think it was the Navy grandpa who put him in the Gates project, the Gateway project, or no, I think it was the Gate project, not Gateway project. And that was like a very sort of an old fashioned, sort of like way back project that sort of selected children with potential, in which he was enrolled. And then you had like one-on-one teaching, also with creativity, and it was a very unusual story. And then I think it was Rod Coulthard who sort of linked it back to sort of psychic or psionic abilities, that was why he might have been enrolled, because Jake Barber also mentions that you have on one hand, or if you have like a distribution, you have on one extreme you have intuition and creativity, and in that same sort of it's the same thing, but on the other end, on the other extreme, you got psionic abilities, telekinesis, telepathy, all that kind of sort of crazy stuff that shouldn't exist. And basically, just to sort of summarize the crazy part is that you can actually summon UAPs, that the army has a machine to summon, or at least equipment or technology to summon UAP. He calls it a dog whistle technology. But
also
you can
CE5. That's a whole different thing we need to talk about. But continue.
Okay, let's play a little clip on that, because he also says something about that for Stephen Greer. This one. There we go. CE5.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, you can say what you want about Dr. Greer, but the guy's been 30 years ahead of everyone else on a lot of the details of this subject.
So a lot of what he says is correct.
To me, he's like the Bentwaters. Like, we had everything we needed in 1980, and now we're fishing around for morsels of that. This guy, he's been ahead of everyone. And what I find quite funny is the one thing he gets the most shit for is the one thing he's probably most right about, and that is his CE5 protocol.
So CE5 is when he uses meditation and he claims it engages telepathically with the phenomenon.
Yeah, that's his term for it. Like, we don't use CE5. We don't use Dr. Greer's protocol. No, do other people in the program or subsequent programs.
So CE5 is real.
Yeah, if we're going to use his term, I'll tell you what is real is the ability to go into something like a meditative state and summon UAP and pilot UAP. That is real. That's 100% real.
Wow. I have to process that for a moment, because that is just the most extraordinary claim.
Yeah. Well, we hope to prove it soon.
Yeah, so they hope to prove it, and that's let's also jump into that one. I think I got it.
If they can prove, that will be amazing.
Yeah, so that's this one. I got a lot of clips, as you know. So I'm good at navigating. So this is the CE5 or the 3-piece or whatever you want to.
Yeah, this is the meditation thing which they were doing. Jake Barber and his team, because he have a company to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's a private contractor or something. He has his own company, and they use meditation to call on those UAPs.
Yeah, it's called Skywatcher, and they're gonna demonstrate this ability.
In August of 2024, Jake and the Skywatcher team conducted their own operation with a psionic asset to see if they could summon a UAP themselves.
Look, there's two. Look at this. Look right here. Look at this one going down and this one going up.
This footage from another Skywatcher operation showing the team's protocols. The team hoped to quietly gather evidence for Skywatcher, but instead found themselves in danger once more. And Jake says a UAP dogfight erupted in the sky above them. He believes the craft summoned by the team was warring with a rogue UAP piloted by an unknown entity attempting to intercept Skywatcher's operation.
Tell me what happened.
So we set out to do this operation. Right away when the psionic asset went into meditation, he is reporting that he is engaged and in fact piloting a craft and is bringing it in.
So he's actually telepathically controlling alien technology.
Yes. As crazy as that sounds, that's exactly what we set out to do, what he reported we would do. And then things
multiple accounts. First of all, it's bizarre. It also reminds me, I don't know, you probably also made this connection, but so because if telekinesis, telepathy, all those kind of sort of psionic abilities exist, they are sort of pretty close to what we used to call magic. And summoning and they also speak about blessing at some point, that the US Army is blessing these technologies before they have to operate them. But anyway, summoning something is of course also considered, has a very strong magic connection, right? You always speak about summoning demons, summoning angels, summoning this and that. So it's interesting that you can that they actually use that terminology and that something is actually summoned.
Yeah.
Right.
This opens the door towards the old idea where I was very involved in the portals.
Yeah.
And interdimensional aliens. So if you can summon them with your mental state and they just appear out of nowhere, then it means they're interdimensional and they're probably using some sort of portals, and they are not aliens from different planet, but they are aliens from different dimension. Could be demons as well. So be very careful with what is happening. And by the way, after believing in remote viewing, because that I was like a disbeliever of remote viewing even in our podcast, but then after watching so many shows of Sean Ryan with John McMonagle and other people, and reading about Ingle Swan and all other people, I believe in remote viewing now. And if that is true, then anything is possible.
I mean, that's true. And in this tweet, they also mentioned, you need sensory deprivation and what was the other one? Binaural sound waves. I actually also recently watched an interview with Thomas Campbell on a request of a good friend of mine. So I watched that entire interview, which was really fascinating. And we're also going to play a little clip about that.
Yeah, but before that...
But the Monroe...
Sorry, go ahead. Monroe, what?
Yeah, the Monroe Institute. So
Yeah.
I was aware of the Monroe Institute, and this friend of mine has been super aware of it because
I was actually aware of Monroe Institute because I've heard about a lot about them, because they were very popular back in the day, like 5-10 years ago. Everybody on the forums where we used to communicate, everybody talks about Monroe Institute. But I was just saying about the magical summoning. I think that was the legend behind the magic carpets. Remember back
yeah,
in Arabia, they
yeah.
have like magic carpets? That could be the same thing, because they were not using any technology other than their mind. And magic
Mhm.
carpet is just a legend back, and this is 2-3 thousand year old legend, basically
Yeah.
in Arabia and Persia. So maybe they had that kind of technology through meditation. They were calling something like that. It doesn't have to be egg shape, right? Because if it's interdimensional, it could be any shape. So that could be just like a carpet they were summoning, and then they were flying over that.
And I think also in this interview, but it might be another interview, but I think it was this one. They and other peoples are also sort of echoing it. They can change shape, so they're
Yeah,
not. It's not one shape. First of all, like they have many shapes. I
yeah,
mean, once you sort of dive into this story, the UAPs have many like it's apparently almost infinite amounts of shapes.
yeah,
And you also have different kind of UAPs, like you saw in this video, the dogfight, which I also wanted to talk about. Because one of the predictions from Cliff High's,
yeah.
um, one of Cliff High's predictions was, that there will be this dogfight, and that will. What was what would come after the dogfight?
uh, no. It will Dogfight will happen after Joe Rogan's
Yeah,
interview with
but then
President Trump. 39 days after that, it will come out.
yeah, but would that then not lead to something else? No, anyway, it doesn't. But anyway, he predicted the dogfight. I'm not saying that this was that dogfight,
Yeah, I'm
but
not sure this is that dogfight, because
but
not it doesn't look like that.
no,
Only.
but look, if because now they're pushing for disclosure this way, right? I think this is a way more effective way, and there's more other ways to push for disclosure, which I'm gonna show later. But so the push for disclosure is becoming, basically unstoppable by now,
Yeah,
um, and especially with these demonstrations and the telekinesis tapes and all that kind of stuff, which we're going to touch upon. But if it's then also true that certain people, and probably everybody has this innate ability, but it's better developed with children and with gift left-handed gay men and with women, then if sort of the awareness among the public grows stronger because of the disclosure movement, and for example you running outside your house in the evening hunting UFOs, right? There's probably many people who are doing this and becoming more aware of this. If you can actually operate and summon UAPs with your mind, doesn't that also mean that as the disclosure movement grows and more people become aware of this reality and the possibility of uh, the possibility of it being true, then unconsciously we can actually be summoning them into existence, right? And that was one of my theories also with the NFT movement, by connecting everybody together and sort of X or Twitter being this hive mind, that one of the things that they're data collecting or sort of using is basically our innate ability, our innate psionic ability, either to steer it, control it, or monitor it, or all of the above. And that's why you see sort of also a convergence often on Twitter, where people sort of move in one sort of direction, and why art often also sort of overlaps in colors and thematics, and so aren't we, as the disclosure movement is sort of pushed, aren't we also sort of summoning them in existence? And isn't that also one of the reasons why we are seeing them more? Because unconsciously and more consciously, we are actually summoning them and perhaps even steering them without even knowing it, right?
yeah. But there is one fear I have. Maybe they are the Gog and Magog.
Yeah,
from the
could be.
Bible.
There's
That's
something.
could be. No, I'm just saying because we are summoning them, and there is a thing that there is a barrier for Gog and Magog, and they will come in the end times. So could be aliens, right? Because they are not Gog and Magog are not humans. Because we have known everyone in the world who lives, like every person, like every nation in the world. We know what they are. So it can't be from this world. It has to be from somewhere else.
Yeah, and I want you also to be aware that I think you might be onto something. I don't know, right? I don't want to make the biblical text or the religious text too lit. I don't want to take them too literally. But yeah, maybe you're right? I don't
No,
know.
because I'm not even taking it literally. I'm taking it figuratively, and then I'm just making a figurative connection with the Gog and Magog.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But we
yeah.
will see. We will see. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, but I'm just saying there is a possibility of that. We will see. We will compare when we have more information. We'll compare notes on that.
Yeah, so the telepathy tapes, right? I haven't had time yet to dive into that, and we'll
I
probably do
didn't
that.
see them, but let's just see some here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make the connection between Jake Barber and the telepathy tapes. So apparently, Diane Powell, who did an interview on the telepathy tapes because she's connected to the research, is
Hmm.
also on his team, on the Skywatcher team from Jake Barber. And Jake Barber, in the interview, of course, mentions telepathy many times and goes into quite a lot of detail, and says that the military has these psionic acids, what these psionic acids have to accomplish and how they operate. Like you have to almost be the way he sort of describes this is that you have to be good intentioned, like that you have to have a pure and good intention, more or less, in order to be able to summon them. And if someone and you have to have at least 3 people or more. I think he said 3, but I don't know. And then if somebody sort of doesn't have that intention or messes it up, then sort of the connection is gone. And you can actually also be hurt during the connection. Like if you don't disconnect, it can actually hurt you. It can also hurt you.
Yeah.
So I actually want to dive a little bit more also in the telepathy part, because I found that very fascinating, and I think that and a lot of stuff is going to come out in that sense.
Hmm.
So okay, let's see. Okay. I got a lot of stuff here open. Okay, I think we can do this one. Yeah, we can do this one. So we're gonna switch to another interview that Ross Coulthard did, and that's what I mean with disclosure, like the drip that Coulthard does.
Hmm.
But this one he did.
Wow, so you've seen these heart murmurs before?
Yeah, we have several people that actually went away. In fact, there's a great study right now that I'm working on with another scientist where we're relating people that have these experiences with onset of autoimmune diseases that they're having. One of them actually leads to problems with the cardiac system. So yes, I've seen a lot of this.
I mean, there's no suggestion there that the energy that's caused these injuries is being intentionally applied. I mean, do you get the feeling it's like an incidental consequence of exposure to an object that might not be intentional, or do you think that the people that are being zapped are being deliberately zapped?
No, I think it's actually, to be honest with you, I think something is trying to communicate with them. I think somebody's trying to give them something intelligent. Some people can interpret it, some people can't. Some people just think it's like, oh my God, what's going on? I got a headache. The other people actually say, oh, I just got a message from somebody, or I feel about this thing. Jake actually said, he felt great. He felt like all of a sudden he felt like amazing. I think that might be the message. So, you're standing in the path of some kind of communication that we don't understand from some type of entity we don't understand. What it does to our outside body, leaves lesions, it leaves marks, it leaves some medical footprints. What it does to our internal body, it gives us feelings, and it makes us interpret things in our brain. Our particular brains try to rationalize everything, so you end up feeling amazing, or you feel scared, or you feel so what happened to Jake is definitely something that somebody
Yeah, so this guy is a very interesting guy. He's actually connected to Skinwalker. And to Hal Puthoff. He works with Hal Puthoff, and he has done a lot of studies and research into this phenomena. And like I said, you can actually also be hurt by doing this stuff. So like you said, be careful what you summon, because even the summoning itself can be quite hurtful. But also in the interview with Jake, he also mentions that the experience was also left physical injuries. That's this part.
Ordered what we called mystery boxes all the time. I have no idea. It could have been empty. It probably wasn't empty, but we don't know what was inside the boxes.
And what were you told if somebody tried to seize that box? What were your orders?
We maintained the authority to use.
Oh wait, sorry, this is the wrong one. Let's see if I can find it. It's probably this one. It's annoying. I think I had them lined up, but
that we're talking about, I think this is the one where Jake describes the experience of escorting an unknown object in a box from somewhere in Africa back to the United States. Let's just take a quick look to refresh our memory of that clip.
We transported what we called mystery boxes all the time. I have no idea. It could have been empty. It probably wasn't empty, but we don't know what was inside the boxes.
And what were you told if somebody tried to seize that box? What were your orders?
Okay.
We
probably had a good.
We maintained the authority to use lethal force if anyone tried to seize those boxes.
So whatever that box was, it was extremely valuable
That's
to the
correct.
US government.
That's correct. And after this particular mission, me and everyone on my team got extremely sick, like physically ill in the hospital. Within weeks after this, I'd lost every hair on my body, and I also lost the skin on my arms.
So the skin's actually falling off your body?
Yeah, like not just falling off, like it was lopping off within a couple of days, like a severe sunburn. I ended up developing a severe heart murmur that I'd never had before.
So Jim, what's your reaction to what Jake describes there?
Well, it seems to me that he was in contact with some type of energy, you might say, that left a medical footprint on his body. And that's not something that you can manifest in your head. So obviously something actually did happen to him. There was no question that something did. And there was a lot of other things that happened to him during that period that he narrated, that in his narratives, that led me to believe that, he was very earnest about this. I mean, so I believe this actually did happen to him. There was nothing construed. And to have those things happen was, very similar to other types.
What would cause, for example, skin to literally peel off somebody's body? What kind of exposure causes that?
So sometimes radiation will do it. So if you ever have any problem with your skin radiation, they do electrons. So they'll actually shoot electrons at your skin and give very, very localized radiation deposits into your skin, which would cause it to have local lesions on your skin. And sometimes you get enough of it and it will start separating from the dermis. It'll start actually separating and coming and peeling off. And I've had many patients describe this and show this and talk to medical doctors. And actually this was something that was pretty prevalent when people actually came into contact with dangerous type of objects.
The other thing that Jake described were lesions on his body. Have you had that experience yourself with witnesses and other experiences who've been exposed to anomalous phenomena?
Yeah, so what happens is that as your body absorbs this energy, it actually does something to it. So your DNA absorbs it. It actually will affect your DNA. It'll break it apart and turn it into almost like a cancer type of thing where it'll actually have a reaction. So you'll get the dimples, you get the bubbles. It'll almost look like a herpes, but then when they look at it and they actually biopsy it, it's not a herpes. So you'll get these lesions on your skin. Luckily, most of these things dissipate after maybe a week or so. But sure enough, there's a lot of people that have reported that they get these lesions, and they're of course very frightened. Nobody wants to have these things.
Sure. There's a few photographs that you very kindly sent us before we went on air. Can you talk to those? What do they show?
So those are instances where people have, first of all, witnessed something anomalous. Like they looked up in the sky, there was something floating by, there was an orb, there was a UFO craft. They were never alone. Most of those people were not alone. Other people seen it, but these particular people came back like a day or two later, or actually 24 hours later, and started developing these bubbles on their skin. So these areas, these blotchy areas that have these pimply areas, almost like they very, very locally burned or actually had.
Yeah. So I found that very fascinating.
Well, yeah, this is like an expert thing to do. I don't have any comments because I don't know anything about this thing, and I have no medical expertise, so I don't know what's going on. But if they are saying that's true, they actually have a photos and videos of it too. So, and it is quite possible to have radiations around those things, and there are multiple actually events reported in the past where there were information of radioactive stuff. And then again, I'm going to go to a biblical reference, Ark of the Covenant. That kind of a thing is also very radiation.
With Indiana Jones, like that their faces melt.
Yeah, but not even that. The real story, even the exact location of it is in Ethiopia right now. And
Yeah.
the priest in, yeah, and the priests in there, they die at very young age, and they died like whenever they become the custodian of the Ark of the Covenant. They joined in early age and they die in their 20s. So there is
Yeah.
something, maybe Ark of the Covenant, what they have in there, it's something related to this phenomena, and they are maybe they are thinking it's Ark of the Covenant, but maybe that's another technology from another dimension.
And you also have, I'm reading this book by Robert Temple about plasma, the plasma universes, I think it's called. No, the New Science of Heaven, sorry. And it's super fascinating. It's, apparently Nobel Prize winners have been researching this field for decades. But many people, even in astrophysics, aren't aware of that research that's out there. And they claim that 99% of the universe is plasma. And that there's like a giant plasma cloud, that are two giant plasma clouds between the Earth and the Moon that are together 9 times the size of Earth. And that these plasma clouds are intelligent and probably intelligent, and that our bodies might actually be animated by plasma fields.
It is possible because we know 95% of the universe is dark matter and dark energy, and we don't know what that is. So it could be the weight of the plasmas. We don't know what plasmas actually are, so it could be that.
Yeah. So
again, I have no expertise on that either, but if I'm just making a connection, could be dark energy and dark matter is just plasma.
Yeah, I think that might actually be there might be something there. But what I also wanted to say is apparently matter comes into existence out of nowhere in those plasma fields. So plasma fields actually generate matter out of nothing. And they actually found that also to be the case in nuclear reactors. In the plasma, they thought that some of these nuclear reactors were contaminated because there was dirt in the reactor. But apparently, they found out that the plasma of the nuclear reactor is creating the dirt. So it wasn't contaminated; it just came into existence during its operation. And what I'm trying to get at is these UFOs come into existence out of nowhere.
Yeah,
they're probably also made of plasma, and you can and they are radiation. They're linked to radiation, as David Grush mentioned. That they used the 1954 atomic energy. What is it? Resolution or whatever directive. To hide all this stuff about UAPs, because everything that's radiated or is connected to radiation, they could cover up, and that's why most of these secrets are also located in the atomic energy section, and then you also have these clearances with super high clearance in the atomic energy field. So anyway, so the point is, like, maybe these UAPs are, I think Ashton Forbes is also saying this, are basically plasma, and maybe you can direct plasma with your mind, because our minds are probably connected to plasma in the first place, right? So that's maybe how we're connecting to them telepathically and to each other telepathically, and that's also something that this guy goes into. Even though I didn't put that one ready.
Yeah, while you look for it, I'm just gonna say, if that's true, that matter is coming out of nowhere, wh- which means goodbye modern physics. The
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
the law of conservation of mass is like matter cannot be created nor destroyed. That is just going in the trash bin. So we have to rediscover the whole science. Bad news for all the scientists and skeptics out there who are betting on the wrong thing right now. So let's see.
Yeah.
Looking good, everything is looking good. Maybe
Yeah, no, I probably can't find it. It would be too much. But basically, what he's saying is that our brains might be entangled, sort of like the quantum mechanic entanglement of particles.
quantum entanglement. Yeah,
Yeah, and the plasmas.
but entangled with what?
Yeah, with each other. What he's mentioning, if I can sort of recollect it correctly, is that that our brain is receiving photons, I think, or ions. It was positive ions. Anyway, he sort of makes a connection with positive ions, and these positive ions are also part of the plasma fields, even though he doesn't mention plasma fields, but sort of the stuff that he's sort of talking about at that moment sort of links back to the book.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually what he's trying to get at. But yeah, anyway, I didn't prepare that stuff, so
Well,
people
it
have to
could be
take
a
that word
next.
on it.
It could be in our next podcast, because I think what happened also. I think with Restream something happened when we touch 1 hour, the video quality just went down and it's always jerky. So the
Okay.
last clip you were playing, it was not like playing smoothly. Initially, it was everything was fine, but in the end, it's jerky. Like
Okay.
the
Well,
voice is fine, but the video is very jerky. So I don't know why it happened with
but
Restream.
that's okay, because people need to focus especially on what they say. The visuals are helpful, but in this case, it's mostly what they say. I do have some other clips lined up. I actually got like way a lot of clips were lined
Yeah,
up.
let's play one by one.
But yeah, let's do that. I'm not sure if we already played this one. Let's take a look. But I probably put it there for a reason.
Human mind making a connection with some kind of non-human phenomenon like that?
Yeah, so I think it's a conclusion at this point that whatever this is not a radiation source. It is a information source that actually happens to be absorbed by your body in that looks like radiation. But I think primary is that whatever this is trying to communicate to you. And so I've done a study over the past 3 or 4 years through the Institute with Hal Puthoff, where we've actually put people in a situation where they were in areas that have UFOs or have UAPs present, and we took their narratives out and also looked at the surrounding signals around them, and sure enough, they always claimed in their narrative state that, I felt like I was being instructed to do something, or I felt like I was being told that I should be doing something, or I was told that something is amazing and having a wonderful period. They would go sometimes into a catatonic state where they would wake up hours later, feel amazing, or just feel completely drained sometimes, and feel that they've been in contact with something. So what Jacob was actually describing is not something that's unique to him. What's unique to him is that the object that made this happen was right.
So I found that one super interesting, because basically it ties into what we just said, but also sort of the focus on communication. In our previous shows we also talked about downloading, that you get information downloaded and that it's connected to a blue light often, and that people sort of get missions. Like Jake Barber basically says that this experience gave him the mission to disclose this, right, and protected him while he was doing it. And because it's because also in that same interview, he also mentioned, because that was the other sort of controversial issue, was that there are groups within the government, private contractors or whatever, who are killing people, and who might have been trying to kill him and his team in their last operation, and that's why he disbanded the team and got a new team and got into contact with Greer also, and why he wanted to disclose this thing. But basically, these UAPs or these UAP experiences change people's lives forever, and apparently give them a mission. And they sometimes download information, which I also have a really cool clip on. And I think your microphone is off.
No, it's on. I was just listening to.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. Okay, let's play the other one, because that one is even more mind blowing. So watch out for this one. This is really cool.
Stick to where they do get very, very emotional, and when your body receives information that it really doesn't understand, because it is kind of scary if you think about it. Nobody's talking to you. I mean, some people get ringing in the ears, and sometimes their eyes get blurry because it affects your optical nerves. But it's a scary thing sometimes. But the fallacy that it's always this sinister, mean thing is very false, because more than half the time the reports come back and it's euphoric, and they're very, very happy about it. They've had a very good time. It's very awakening. They learn things. They learned other languages, believe it or not. I mean, so this is something that I've had a lot of experience with, thousands of narratives from people, and they all sounded very much like what Jacob was talking about.
So you're saying that people have learned other languages. What does that mean?
Yeah. So there was quite a few instances where they actually started doing some writings through. So they would go into a state. They would wake up, like several hours later, look down, and they've written this like entire document that they had no idea what they wrote. They would bring it to like a linguist and say, what the heck is this? And find out it's an ancient language that they would have never had an idea of what they could, never learned that.
It's funny. I suspect the skeptics and the debunkers will have a field day with the whole idea of psychical connections with non-human intelligence.
Anyway, that was the important part.
Yeah, but Ross Coulthard is right that skeptics will have a field day with that. This is a new information for me, because I've never read any story where people just learn a new language, an ancient language. So I have to go and look deep dive into it. But that's very interesting story.
But Sid, again, like the connection to possession, right? I mean, that's also the word that Jake Barber used to describe sort of the egg and what it did to him, that it possessed him.
Yeah.
But with possessions, like with The Exorcist, all these famous movies about possessions by demons, but you can of course also be possessed by muses and by angels.
Yeah.
They often say, and then they learn Latin and they speak in foreign tongues, and it's like one of the signs of a true possession. Like this was like my immediate first thought, like, oh my god.
Yeah, and demon possession is super real, man.
Oh yeah, apparently.
No, because like angel and muse possession is one thing where we get our ideas, right? First of all, angels don't possess anyone. Muses do; they give you ideas. But then there are demons who possess, and I personally experienced that. Maybe some other time I'll tell you the story, but yeah, I know the possession is real, and it happened to kids. It never like all the stories I've heard and with my personal experience, everything I notice is always demons target kids, because again, as Stephen Greer said, that they are more easy to have those kind of psychic powers. So kids have like they have open mind where other things can come and possess. So we have to be very careful around the kids.
It's kind of interesting because that was before all this revelation, and I was talking to my girlfriend, and it was a friend, a friend of mine, a different friend. He does kung fu, and he's connected to like the world's biggest kung fu masters in China, and there's also a kung fu master in Amsterdam. Apparently, I wasn't aware, but he's like world class level, and there's a whole conflict about that because he's sort of he's not Chinese, and he does have this knowledge. Anyway, side story. But anyway, he started telling me some of these experiences and stories, some firsthand and some secondhand from people that he knows and trusts about what these kung fu masters can do. And the stuff is really insane and crazy. But one of the things that they apparently can do, and that has happened to friends of his, is that they can, for example, look at a picture and say what's wrong with a person, and then give some medicine, and then alleviate some kind of illness that nobody could define, and all the medical cures didn't help, and then the person is healed. But also scan a body at a distance and say what's wrong with it. But there's way more crazy stuff than that. But one, and then I was sort of talking with my girlfriend about this stuff. And then I sort of mentioned, like, how is it that children can heal so fast, right? Because of course their body is still in development, and the cells still grow and regenerate quickly. But you can also turn it around. Why is that the case, right? Yeah. And one of the features that children have, apart from an open mind, is of course they're also super imaginative, and they are extremely good at visualizing. If they have like a goal or something that they want, they can actually visualize it to perfection. Not always, of course.
By the way, just want to clear one thing. When I say open mind, I don't mean like open mind figuratively. I mean their brain is open to other energies. With other dimensions.
But also like literally open-minded. I mean, they are also open to suggestion, right? That's also why it's easy to trick kids. Why you should also tell your children never to go with, some person who promise you something, right? So because kids might actually do something like that.
Yeah.
So, but when I was a kid, I broke my leg at some point. And I remember very clearly, but also at other times, that you want to heal, and you sort of visualize healing, right? You visualize stuff going on in your body that are destroying the antibodies, and or not destroying the antibodies, but you sort of
making more antibodies.
But sort of visualizing your healing process, and maybe that's also one of the reasons that kids heal faster, is actually that they're using psionic abilities in order, and maybe that's also why their cells are growing faster, right? Who knows? Because they might be in contact with still in contact with something higher. And then the flip side of that is something that Barber also discusses in this interview, is that in Western culture we are hyper focused on the intellect and not on intuition, right? In Eastern and in Middle East, but also China and Japan, and basically every other
Middle East
continent. They do develop that side of the human brain, which is probably more connected to the right side, right hemisphere of the brain, and we are super focused on the left side, and that might actually also inhibit our innate psionic abilities, because we are not even developing. We were probably suppressing them.
This is so true, because we are making humans very dumb. And there were like the top scientists who just want to reshape the world in their own image. What they have perceived, they want everyone to believe the same thing, that world is very materialistic and everything is what they see it is. And they just go nuts with everything else, and they just think everyone else is stupid. And they were like what they call sheep herds of the middle age, all those prophets and all those things. No, man, there is so much more. And basically it's I don't trust scientists anymore because they have let me down so much about
Yeah,
everything.
and I think the scientists have been corrupted, not because they are corrupt, but the money system that underlies our society
Also
has
their
been
egos.
broken. It has been hacked, and it has been used
No,
against us.
it's more than the money. It's their egos. Their ego is so high because they think they are better than everyone.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I think one of the reasons that's the case is what Brett Weinstein and Eric Weinstein have described, like that the gatekeepers or the peer review system has been transformed into something that it wasn't, what it didn't used to be, right? The peer
Yeah.
review just used, the idea behind it was simply that you make a discovery and then other scientists look at it, and if everybody and checks it and runs the experiments themselves, and if it's correct, then even a shoe maker or I don't know, the garbage collector can put can make a scientific discovery if he runs the test and comes to the peer review. But these days the peer review is actually saying who is allowed in the group and then run the experiments, right?
Yeah.
So there's actually a pre-selection, and that has been created not only because of egos and power, but mostly, of course, through a broken money system that has implemented that sort of, that's at least my opinion, has implemented that sort of barrier there in order to control science and academics, is my opinion.
Yeah, but also there is a problem
And then
with,
you get the egos and this,
yeah,
because you're
there,
part of the group.
this is in the world we are talking about where it's not a simulation. But if we go in that theory that we live in a simulation and nothing exists until we go and figure it out, the simulation theory is like what we see is there and everything is still has to render. So when a scientist do an experiment on something which is unknown, they already have assumptions, either it's going to be this or it's going to be that. So so what simulation gonna do is just gonna read their mind and establish one of either of those facts. So now we are creating our own type of simulated world because
Well,
it's
that's
just
interesting because that sort of ties into Thomas Campbell.
yes,
That
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I basically, I'm not. I actually had a whole discussion with that other friend about Thomas Campbell because he's a big supporter of him, and I do sort of, the guy is brilliant and great at explaining things, but I do. Well, anyway, let's not go into that because it will take.
no, but what I'm saying, like with scientists and their narrow-mindedness, if we are living in a simulation, we are creating the world of stupidity, and that's why we did never end up finding the theory of everything, because different scientists have different assumptions and they are establishing their own facts. And now we are in a dead new. Okay, here is he.
Okay, let's go.
This another. This is I was going to say another corporation. My books is One Lightning Strike Books, but now this one is CUSAC. Okay, that's Center for the Unification of Science and Consciousness. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I've got a bunch of things going on there. I've got quantum experiments, and I've got a couple of blockbusters that are going to have a lot of evidence that this model is a good model. This extended perception mind sight that's seen without eyes. Basically, it's real-time remote viewing. And I've got a plan where we're going to get hundreds of thousands, we hope, people to experience this being able to see without their eyes. And that's going to be a big push. It's going to really change things. It's not one person says, I can do this, but it's thousands of persons saying, I can do this. And when that bubbles up, because they're all going to post on the internet and say, guess what my kids could do? It turns out to train somebody to do this, if that somebody is like 5 or 6 years old, you can train them in a few hours to do this because their mind, their beliefs aren't solid yet. They still see the world as a magical place, so magic is easy for them.
Right.
So we got that going on, and I will have a little slide about that. We've got experiments going on where we're going to try to get some APIs inside of existing video games to where a person's intention will be able to modify the random numbers, sort of what Pear Labs was doing, except doing this in a way where instead of getting hundreds of people participating, we're going to get millions of people participating because it's going to be video games doing that. So they'll get better prizes with an intention to get better prizes. And can they do that? And does it work? If so, it'll be these things are big things over lots and lots of people, which have a lot more impact than somebody doing something. And the last one is we're going to offer some serious money to physicists primarily, but professionals to talk about consciousness and AI. We're going to do those things. That's going to make because of the money involved, it's going to force a lot of technical people to consider, to think about, at least to have a sense of, and to talk to their co-people. So we're trying to push consciousness into, it's okay to think about that, scientists, You're not going to be banned if you think about that. So I think we're going to look for like $1 million prizes and something for physicists to do. It's going to be the biggest one of.
So that is super cool. So
Yeah.
So this is basically implementing psionics in like daily life on a massive scale. And actually, showing results and, training kids to use these powers that they probably, have. So, and actually I forgot, but there's also another clip in that interview. It's a really good interview, by the way. It's a new interview with him, where he talks about consciousness and AI and how that works in his framework. I do have my issues with his framework, but that doesn't matter. But he sort of connects consciousness and AI, and that he comes with some very interesting ideas and insights in that regard too. Yeah, so that's super cool, right?
Yeah, no, I actually like Thomas Campbell, and I agree a lot with him, and I also disagree a lot with him because personally, my opinion in the simulation is it's not a digital simulation. It is a simulation, but it's not a digital one.
Yeah, I think he makes it too simple.
Yeah, it's too simple way of seeing it because they got the information that because we create games and they look real, that's why it's a possibility that we are in a digital simulation. I understand that's a hypothesis, but I think it's more than that. It's not digital. It doesn't look digital. It looks more like an organic simulation someone trying to do something, and there is way more happening behind the scenes.
I think he wants to explain too much into a model based on his own experience, which is fine, right? I'm not, he's free to do whatever he wants, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But I don't think I think in the end it's probably too simplistic a theory to capture all of reality. Yeah. I want to run to two more clips and then sort of end with Trump. With Trump, I'm actually gonna send Douglas a message. If we can start a little bit later. Wait, maybe he's in the public right now. Douglas, if you're listening, can you start 10 minutes later?
No, we can end fast. We'll just play. Maybe in 5 minutes we can end. That's fine.
Yeah. I'll rush you through, but we started a little bit late as usual.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got this clip. I got two more clips, and then we'll go to Trump.
Comment to this, but I'm going to put it to you anyway. I have another source inside the program who has told me that one of the aerospace companies holding this tech at one stage relinquished a craft to the US government, saying that they hadn't been able to successfully reverse engineer it. And it has been put to me that this was a lie and that they have in fact got a fully flying, intact, reverse engineered craft.
I've heard the very same thing from a very reputable source. So I would believe that's true.
The implications of this are that there's a whole secret program involving potentially energy technologies, anti-gravity technologies that are mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
It is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the message that I'm getting from you is one of kind of optimism.
Yeah. I'm very pleased to be at a place where this is becoming fun again. You know, when I started this journey 30 years ago, and a 17-year-old kid, as I shared with you, my intentions were very simple and clear. I wanted to jump out of airplanes, kill bad guys, and make my grandparents proud. Somewhere along the way, things got very confusing and very complex. We're now at a point where things are very simple for me again, and I see clearly what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I have my why, and fortunately, because of my experience, I have the how, I have the capability. And we, over the last 2 years, while we've been hiding out, we've been working to find a way to bring this operation out of the shadows and into an open environment where we could build a public-private partnership with full transparency and explore all of these things that have been explored in secret in a way that we can start from scratch. But we may be 60, 70 years behind what everyone calls a legacy program, but I'm telling you, we're going to catch up very quickly. And the reason it's going to work is because we have all of the people like me that have been working there. I call it the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but we have been recruiting guys from within the program and women, and those who are associated with the program in a very open way, and have formed and are forming a new team in coordination with government agencies. The two we would want the most coordination with are coming on board with us. And we also have the funding through venture capital.
No. I can answer that one. But they will reveal themselves, and I think it was Arrow. Arrow also is going to attend the sky watching of the Skywatchers of Jake Parker, right?
Jake Barber.
Yeah, Barber. Sorry. So this new administration, or the new chief at Arrow, is way more open-minded and way more positive. And he's also saying a lot of positive things, and he's actually attending this psionic demonstration. So that is a very good sign. So I want to go to the last clip.
Yeah, just before you play on that, but I want to say that every time I go out now in the nighttime, I try to go in the meditative state. I cannot because I don't know how, but I still try, and I'm unsuccessful badly, but I'm trying it. So everyone else out there should try to communicate with the UFOs, whatever they can, learn more. Maybe you end up seeing something. It's just a public service message.
Yeah, I've been meditating, but it's super hard.
It's super hard, but
That's
to
really
be honest,
hard.
we don't even know the technique. But like, it's not like I want to waste my time because we are very busy, right? So, but other than that, with whatever time we have left, try to communicate because it has to be natural.
Yeah.
And even with the
You
remote
can't force
viewing,
it. The Campbell is very good at explaining meditation. Watch
Yeah.
that interview, and you sort of he also goes through the why the Western culture is sort of inhibiting these abilities.
Thomas Campbell actually said one thing: when
He's
you
very
try
good.
hard, you are unable to achieve that. So
Because
you
your
don't
ego-
have to try hard. You have to be natural. It is a natural power, so to be natural with that, and you end up doing something.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, he's very good with the meditation. He has some really crazy stories about that too, by the way. He's connected to the Monroe Institute.
Suppressing technology and weapons, which I can, as much as I don't like the idea of it, I can understand why somebody might have made the decision to do that. It's suppressing spiritual knowledge that you think the public's got a right to know.
Well, and here's where I would say we need to respect the fact that we don't know what we don't know. Imagine weaponizing consciousness. We don't think of, in this story we're telling, we're assuming consciousness is the good, benevolent, harmless thing that should be disclosed, everything we've researched and understood. Imagine if it is the case that consciousness could be weaponized, and that people like the President of the United States could be under mind control. That's a huge problem. And imagine if someone could independently develop. We already see this problem with drones. We are so out of control with the drone issue that drones can fly around with a payload and cause mass casualties because we don't have it under control. The FAA doesn't. We just, unfortunately, we don't have the CFRs, the Code of Federal Regulations, and the people hired to deal with something like drones. Imagine if we had to manage and police the malevolent use or the weaponization of consciousness.
Yeah, so actually this ties into a lot of stuff that we said in previous episodes, like, why CBDCs, why this sort of massive police state that they have been trying to build, and also the stuff that I was talking about earlier with X, right? Controlling the group of a mind, the mind of a group, sorry, right? And Neuralink and all that kind of stuff. And it also ties into Project Stargate. I actually wanted to talk about it today, but we're gonna save that one for next time, because that is very interesting and also kind of disturbing, and it will also tie into AI. And Douglas is gonna do an AI agent show. He's gonna tell a little bit more about Stargate in a couple of minutes. I'm looking forward to that show. But so just go with Trump, and then we'll end there. Because even though Trump is, he's not perfect, and we have to be vigilant and make sure that he doesn't appoint the wrong people or does the wrong things.
Well, I think right now it's not President Trump, it's President Musk, and be very careful.
Yep,
That's
I
what
agree.
I'm gonna say.
So
And do not trust Elon Musk, because this whole idea is a free speech platform. It's not. A lot of accounts are being suspended. It's just not ours.
So, some things are allowed to be said, and other things that we are not even aware of.
No, I am aware because I keep an eye. So there is like a lot of the things which are being suppressed right now. It's just like it's not visible because those accounts were first demonetized, then shadow banned, and now they're getting rid of them. So they're slowly easing them out.
And even if it was free, right? You also, as Dave the Wave pointed that out, right? You can also suppress people with a group of other people, right? If you have a bigger group of people, you can have like a suppression by the majority, right? Which is actually democracy, but yeah.
No, if you're just suppressing their voice and not letting them heard, that's like against a free speech. You can have different opinion and people have chances, but what is happening is like the other group is so loud that no one can hear the that is suppression.
Yeah, no, true. That's I agree with that.
The incoming Trump administration, as you pointed to, in addition to Secretary Rubio having spoken out about UAP, we also have John Ratcliffe, of course, who's likely to be the CIA director if confirmed. He's done the same. And then Mike Waltz has also done that, and he is likely to become the next national security advisor. And so those are three real positive potential allies in this effort. And know a couple of other things, and I can say this with authority because I was the Trump appointee, that he is disruptive by nature. I think no one's going to argue that. And if anything could be more disruptive for the status quo, it'll be UAP disclosure. So there's an inclination there. He's also has tended to stack his administration with innovators. For example, the next director of the Office in Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios, a good friend of mine, an ally when I was in the administration. He was the chief technology officer in the White House. And I could see him looking at the technology spin-off potential of this as being great. And the other thing, and there is a desire, there was in the last administration, there's a desire in this one to show American leadership. And I mentioned that in my Hill op-ed that I mentioned previously, that this is an issue where we really stand to do that in the world. And I think when opportunities are presented like that,
yeah, so I actually agree with him, and in line with this, you also notice that Trump is gonna put out a directive to release the files on JFK, and
he already signed it, so we are waiting for it.
Yeah, RFK and Martin Luther King, People are also pressing him to release the Epstein files. Some say that he first has to get everything in order to do that, because it will be extremely disruptive if he does. But maybe he won't, right? He might be
It's going to be very
implicated himself. He also put out the executive order that officially suspends U.S. military aid to Ukraine immediately, which makes me very happy. Of course, the Stargate thing. He also mentioned LA. That's the one that you sent.
LA fire. Yeah, that was very weird thing he said.
Yeah,
Can we play that?
Yeah, we'll end with that one. So, but what I want to say, let's close on that. The people that he's appointing to these positions, and sort of the executive orders that he's signing, they all point towards that he's going to release this stuff in order to cement his presidency, and also to get rid of his opponents once and for all. He also appointed William Timmons, a Republican, to the Military and Foreign Affairs Subcommittee, and he also has a strong interest in UAP. So UAPs will be released, at least in a certain way, with a certain narrative. And RFK, JFK, MLK, perhaps Epstein. So it will be an extremely transformative presidency, right? I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So
here we go. LFR thing is, I think he is referring to UFOs. But
there we go.
The biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation. The biggest.
Yeah, so, it could be the UFO video that we showed last time, or something like it, with the drones and stuff flying around, like the payload that Barber mentioned. Or it could be a directed energy weapon or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the only two things: direct energy weapon, or a lot of people are saying it is direct energy weapon, and this conspiracy is going on for a very long time. That Moi fires, like Hawaii fires, were the test of it, and they tried it here again. Either that or a UFO. Yep. And in both cases, and the way he's saying it's a very, very bad situation, it means it's more than just an attack on the land. It's very weird that we cannot even respond.
Yes. And of course, he's also going to make statements about the drone issue.
Yeah. Let's see.
But anyway, we got way more stuff. We haven't even really gone into the telepathy tapes, so we'll save that one for next time. And there's also more to say on the disclosure issue. Yeah. But I think we covered a lot of ground. Also, help me remember Project Stargate for next time.
Yep. And just message to Douglas if he finds some alpha. DM us so we can make some money.
Invest in it. That I think that one will blow up. I have been looking into it. I couldn't find the ticker with Stargate, but apparently an Oracle company in Norway, which is connected to Stargate, and of course OpenAI and all that stuff.
Yeah, figure it out and let us know so we can buy.
Anyway. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.